This is the top 1 ELO player in ExtremeCraft, the highest rank on the server, a position that should represent the peak of PvP skill. But what you're about to see doesn't look like mastery, instead it looks mechanical. Welcome to Cheaters Analysis in Minecraft PvP Episode 8. I'll let you watch extended portions of this fight without interruption, so you can feel the pressure yourself and form your own observations. Then, we will begin breaking down what's actually happening in this match. This player holds the top 1 ELO, a position that should reflect control, experience, and high-level decision making. But the behavior we're observing doesn't align with the expectation. It is consistent but not adaptive, precise but not reactive. Instead of decision making, the output appears automated, a mechanical response rather than a human process. And fighting against this pattern isn't exhausting because of skill, but because of how consistently that output is maintained. Now, let's begin with the first phase. Focus on how the performance behaves over time. At this level, performance should evolve throughout the fight, adapting to pressure, positioning, and timing. But here, the evolution is largely absent. The output remains consistent, yet not adaptive. There are very few natural fluctuations, no visible adjustment phases, no gradual build-up of control. Instead, the engagement appears fragmented at times, with moments where the player seems disconnected from the flow of the fight, followed immediately by precise, well-timed damage. The knockback patterns also appear irregular, less predictable than what typically results from controlled spacing and timing. Hits don't consistently originate from stable positioning, but rather from brief contact moments, as if activation occurs the instant the target crosses the crosshair. Based on these patterns, the behavior does not align with continuous manual input. Instead, it suggests a system that triggers output on contact, with timing that remains consistent regardless of movement complexity or pressure. The aim itself does not appear to track or lock in a traditional sense, which reduces the likelihood of aim-assisted behavior. Rather, the consistency seems to come from activation and timing, not from tracking precision. From an observational standpoint, this is more consistent with a combination of trigger-based input and automated or accelerated clicking, rather than natural variation in human performance. Now, stepping back from the individual fight, this pattern is not isolated. As rank increases, the behavior often becomes more deliberate, not necessarily more refined, but more consistently applied. The advantage is maintained with less variation and with greater confidence in its output. This creates a form of performance that appears stable on the surface, but lacks the variability typically associated with high-level play. And this pattern tends to repeat across multiple high-ranking players with similar characteristics in timing, pressure, and engagement behavior. This isn't limited to a single player or a single server. These patterns appear across different environments, wherever competitive systems rely on trusting player input. The result is a form of performance that looks effective, but it's difficult to interpret without close observation. Because the output is consistent, but the process behind it's not always visible. And over time, this creates confusion around what real skill actually looks like. So, when you're watching competitive gameplay, whether it's here or in any other game, pay attention to patterns. Look for repetition without variation, consistency without adaptation, output without visible decision making. As always, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to support the channel and help spread this awareness, consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.